Hello, my name is Ryan Zackos. I'm a licensed real estate broker here out of Sarasota, Florida. In today's video, I want to talk to you about a question and concern that we hear often. We often hear, are we in a bubble? Is it going to burst? Should I be looking at buying now or should I wait it out? So here are things that you want to consider if you are interested in purchasing right now. So there are going to be a couple elements of these are situational based on you as an individual, and then elements that you should consider no matter just based on economics and where we are at today's world. So first we're going to start with the reasons you should buy right now that are situational depending on you as a person. Things that you might want to consider pulling the trigger if you do have a good credit score, your debt to income is good, and you can then qualify for a low interest rate. We are looking at historically low interest rates, and if you can check those boxes, then you probably should consider to buy and take advantage of those low interest rates right now. Can you afford a down payment and closing costs? A down payment's going to be depending on your loan. It could be as low as 3.5% for an FHA loan, all the way up to 20% for conventional or even more. Those are what you want to consider for a down payment, and the closing costs are going to be anywhere between that 2 to 5% of the purchase price, depending on a lot of factors: insurance, PMI if there is, taxes, price of the home, the fees of closing, the fees of your lender. So there's a lot of things that go into your closing costs, but plan on that 2 to 5% of the purchase price. Can you afford that? And on top of that, do you have an emergency fund that you don't really have to tap into? I'd hate to see people spend all their life savings on a purchase of a home and they don't have a contingency plan if something were to happen medically or personally with them. Make sure you have that emergency plan set up. Make sure that you can afford that down payment and closing costs. And then if you do check all those boxes that we just discussed on the situational, you as a person, then yes, you probably should take that next step and look at, okay, what are the other hard facts in regarding the economy in buying a home right now. Another thing that I would say that are pros for buying a home right now are the interest rates. We discussed that. Now you have to qualify for those interest rates, but if you have a good credit score and you have a low debt to income, then you will qualify for really good interest rates, and historically speaking, best interest rates we've ever seen. So you can take advantage of that. And projections are the interest rates are only going to go up. So they're not going to go down from here. They're only going to go up. So you could take advantage of that and look at purchasing now. And this is kind of what is spreeing the home buying frenzy as well as the low interest rate. And then, are you renting currently? If you're a renter and you're looking to purchase and you want to stay in the location that you're living for more than a couple of years, it is always a good financial decision to purchase a home, put equity back in your own pocket instead of the equity in your landlord's pocket. Put that money that you're going to put toward your rent, toward your mortgage, putting money back in your own pocket essentially at the end of the day. If you're looking at renting, it's always a good opportunity to buy. And then obviously tight supply and high demand is only projected to continue going forward. Currently working with a lot of buyers that are relocating here from out of state, and I have customers on wait lists for basically every new construction builder you can think of in all the areas. These wait lists are at least 50 to 100 to 150 to even 200 people deep. With these new constructions and the amount of demand and the lack of supply, the cost of pricing, supply pricing is going up. I foresee that it's going to take a while to level out. I know some people disagree with that and they think that we're in this bubble, it's going to burst any second, but just based on the pure demand, the lack of inventory, I think that it's going to take at least a couple of years for all that demand to be actually leveled out, because the builders are only releasing a handful of homes a month to be purchased, and if you're on a waiting list for 150 people, you can do the math on that. The demand is there for sure, and I think that will can only continue to go up. And then the last reason why I think that you should be looking at buying currently is that the house prices are still projected to go up. Just like we talked about with supply and demand, that kind of is what dictates obviously the real estate pricing. With the supply kind of staying level, demand going up, obviously we're expecting to see home prices still rise for the foreseeable future. These are all very good reasons to consider purchasing right now. Now, on the other side, I'm going to give you some things to consider that might deter you from purchasing right now. And just like the previous list, some are going to be situationally driven and then others are going to be economically driven. On the situational side, is your credit score low? And do you not qualify for good interest rates? If you don't, it might be worth the wait, and obviously you don't want to pay an enormous amount of interest just to get into a home, because even if the home prices does tick up a little bit and interest rate goes low, you're paying less money in interest to the bank at the end of the day. So it might be worth the wait to let your credit score improve, maybe your debt to income to come down, and give you a better purchasing power, and that would allow you to potentially also have a better opportunity at getting a home that you want. It's one thing to consider situationally, and then an emergency fund on the backside of that. Make sure that you are saved and that you have adequate savings for an emergency fund personally. And also another thing to consider is interest rates are super low right now for your primary home or first-time home buyers, but if this is looking at a secondary home or an investment property, the interest rates are a little higher. They're in the high 4s currently right now, compared to a primary residence of sub 3 in some cases. You don't want to be over leveraged. You don't want to just purchase a home thinking that you might be getting a good rate, but at the end of the day, it's not that great of a rate, and you definitely don't want to put yourself in a situation where you can't make a payment because you own 2 properties. So those are things to consider on the situational or personal side in regarding not purchasing home. Now let's look at the financial insight of maybe things to consider and waiting or not purchasing home currently, and that would be that we have seen an enormous uptick in home values. I think nationally we're looking at like 17% from last year to now. That's a very big number, as well as historically low inventory. I think currently we're at 28% under our inventory number from last year's. With that super low inventory, that super high rise in prices, it makes me think that even though I know the demand's there and we're going to continue, you don't want to just settle on something. You don't want to just have to pull the trigger on purchasing something that you might not be super excited about or see yourself in long terms. If you need to wait a couple months in order to find that home that you're excited about, then I think that might be worth considering. Another thing to consider is a lot of people in this market are making really ridiculous offers, things that we haven't seen done in the real estate market in years and years and years. Things like appraisal gaps, waiving appraisals, no financial contingencies at all, or even waiving inspections. I've personally lost deals for clients or had offers not become accepted because the other parties were waiving all contingencies to the contract. So they weren't allowing, or they were going to forego their inspection. Well, some of these homes, you can see water damage, you can see repair issues, you can see potential mold or smell, or there's all these different things that go into a home that you want a thorough inspection. You want to know what you're buying, and I could never recommend foregoing an inspection, maybe doing a very quick period and giving yourself a chance to at least get in the house or getting a professional in there to view it for you. But to forego it completely, especially a home that's not new construction or a newer home, is something that's happening, but I do not recommend doing it. You don't want to put yourself in a bad situation and being emotionally tied to a house and making an emotional decision on that. Those are some reasons why you might not. Obviously, I'm in the stance of, if you are financially able to make that decision of purchasing, and I think that the demand's continuing, the prices are going up, and we're obviously in a very high real estate market and world right now. Is that bubble going to bust? I don't think so. Or is that bubble going to bust? I don't think so. It is a lot harder to get a loan than it was back in 2007 prior to that real estate collapse. They are doing a lot of checks and balances to protect the economy from that happening again. Will the prices come down eventually? Absolutely. Anyone would be ignorant to say that prices are only going to continue to go up, but I think with the dollar depreciating, the demand of real estate being there, COVID and the desire for people to have a home that they can settle in, a larger space to work from because there's a lot more remote workers, all these things are creating this demand. It's going to take a while to level out. We will see a price decrease in the future. No one, if they tell you they know when, then they're lying, because no one knows when that's going to be. But I do think that if you can buy now, it is always a good investment to do that. Hope this helps. Hope this answers some questions. If you have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to reach out. I look forward to talking to you. Thanks.